All right, there we go. All right, welcome everybody to tonight's Team Aftershots call. Thank you for joining me. I'm so excited that we're bringing these back as a weekly thing. I really did miss doing them. And yeah, I feel like I've missed sharing a lot with you guys. I didn't realize how much I really like. I don't know. I feel like I shared a lot with you guys before. So this is gonna be a jam-packed 40 minutes. Thankfully Zoom will cut me off at 40 minutes or else I will probably go on for 2 hours. So yeah, this will give me my time limit. So basically, tonight, what I'm talking about tonight is just kind of how to get through when things don't go as planned. That has been my life for the last however many months now. I really feel like when I look back, I'm just like, oh my gosh, like literally there was just probably a small handful of days in the last couple months that actually kind of went as planned, that, you know, I was able to just kind of, you know, do what I wanted to get done in the day. The majority of the time, like I say, in the last few months has just been crazy. Every single day, every single week, there's been something that has just been totally unforeseen and unplanned for and just totally thrown me off. So I've really learned to persevere. And now I'm here to share with you guys how I've managed to persevere through those things. So the first thing, and this is something that came to me today. So the first thing, a lot of personal development, you notice, will talk about focusing on your strengths and what are your strengths and finding your strengths. And I honestly have really struggled to figure out what my strengths are, because I don't feel like I'm particularly strong in any particular area, especially when it comes to Beachbody and to what we do. I'm always like, well, I'm pretty good about doing my workouts and I've completed quite a few programs, but that's not really a strength, So today I realized what my strength is, and that is that I just generally have a very positive attitude about everything. I'm usually able to see the bright side in almost every situation, and I share that with people to the point where, some people I'm sure get annoyed. I know that my husband gets annoyed because he's, like most people, is just like, this is a crappy day. This day is awful. And I'm like, well, no, it's not too bad and he's just like, shut up. It's a bad day, but yeah, so I realized this morning, like, that's actually a really big strength because, where there are moments where like literally I feel like I have that urge to like, I just literally want to like curl up in a ball and hide myself and just like sleep until whatever passes. I generally am able to kind of pick myself up pretty quickly. Right away, I'm kind of looking on the bright side. So I'm going to share a little story with you guys that I reflected back on this, and it made me realize that this was actually a pretty big strength of mine. So this morning, if you guys didn't see my post this morning went totally not at all as I planned, which isn't surprising. Last Monday was exactly the same, not as bad, but anyways. So this morning it was honestly a rough morning for me because I was driving my brother's car, which sounds totally crazy to most people. And I realized that they're like, well, why is that so tough? Except for my mom and my dad get it. Everybody else is kind of like, why is that so tough? It's a car and it's just been sitting for 2 months. So yeah, you should drive it. So anyways, but it was tough. It's kind of like this new step in like accepting the fact that, he's gone and he's not coming back. And it's like, I felt like, I shouldn't be driving his car. I should ask him first. And this is weird. And anyways, that was just like, you're making too big of a deal of this. Anyways, I got over it. Drove his car. I drove Serena to school this morning in his car, and she was really excited to ride in it. So anyways, so I drove her to school, coming home from school, and stopped at a light, turn left. The radio and the heater turns off. The lights start like flashing at me, and like it's like dying, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. And I'm a little bit crazy. I believe in like the spirit world and whatever. So I looked up seriously and I was like, Jeff, just get me through this intersection. And so I somehow powered through the intersection. I don't even know how it happened because I was pushing the gas and nothing was happening. It was dead. But somehow there was like this one time I pushed the gas and like this little bit of power and it pushed me through the intersection, and I got to the curb and I was still blocking a lane. There was like 2 lanes. I was blocking the right lane, but there was a clear lane for people to get past me, whatever. And I realized that the majority of people in that moment would have probably, their initial thought would have been like along the lines of like, oh, this is so crappy. Oh, my Monday's ruined. This week's going to be awful. FML, blah, blah, blah. Why me? My initial thought was, I am so thankful that I got through that intersection. My second thought was, oh, I'm so glad that I have such an awesome mom. And that's who I called right away. And I was right away too, I was thinking, why did this happen? What can I learn from this? And that's kind of the way that my thought goes. And so I realized that's how my thoughts go when something not great happens to me, when something happens to throw my day or my week off whack. That's how I start thinking. I start thinking like, why? There must be a lesson in this. Why is this happening? And even though I don't have an answer at that moment, that's just how I think. And so the negative thoughts of like, okay, this really sucks and, you know, my day's all thrown off, that stuff does still run through my mind. But like I say, my initial reaction to those sorts of situations is like initially the positive and like, I guess the like, it could have been worse and I'm thankful for this and what can I get out of this? Why is this happening? And what sort of lesson am I learning from this? So anyways, it ended up starting for me like a few minutes later. I ended up getting it into a parking lot and then like spent my morning driving around. It got towed and it's like getting fixed. So that's how that ended. So just, you know, but it was my whole morning gone. So I got home and I was like feeling really, you know, I kind of came home and I like was decompressing because it was like a big morning and I had a jam-packed schedule this morning. Every Sunday, well, the last 2 weeks I've started up with my routine again that I was really good doing in the first couple months of the year, but then I fell off doing this. But last week and this week I started again where on Sundays I would sit down with my Google Calendar and I would actually plan out my week. And I would actually like be like, okay, from this time to this time I'm doing this and from this time to this time I'm doing this. And I generally don't leave a lot of room for other things to come up. However, the thing is like I say, like it never goes exactly as planned. So you gotta figure out how to kind of react on the fly and kind of how to move on anyways, right? So I had a jam-packed morning plan this morning. And so I got home and I was just like, oh my gosh, like how am I going to, you know, like what am I going to do next basically? And right away I was like, okay, I can't, this is like the first lesson. I can't sit here and waste a lot of time feeling sorry for myself or trying to figure out what to do first. That's the first thing. So just sit down and get right to work, right? So I realized that. So I looked at my calendar and I was like, okay, what did I miss this morning? Okay, so I got to do, you know, my power 3. I got to reply to my messages. I got to get through my Asana. Those are like first things. I literally at this point in time only had like 2 hours left until I had to pick Serena up from school. So it was a far cry from like the 5 hours that I was expecting to have today to get work done. So I like sat down and I looked right away what had to be done. And I just sat down and just started plugging away. Like I literally didn't even give myself any time to really feel sorry for myself. Okay, I give myself a little bit of time to feel sorry for myself, but not that much. Like maybe 10 minutes at the absolute most, right? So that's the biggest thing, I think. When these things happen, it's like, it could be like a little thing that throws your day off, or it could be like a pretty big thing that throws your day off. But the problem is that the majority of us, when something like that happens, will then sit there and just kind of feel bad for ourselves and just kind of reenact everything that happened over and over. And not in like, there's like 2 ways to kind of sit back and rethink everything that had happened. There is the productive way, which is what I was talking about, and where I'm kind of like looking back, I'm like, why did this happen and what can I learn from it and blah, blah, blah. Where I kind of realized like my initial reaction was pretty positive and holy crap, whoa, duh, like that's my biggest strength in life, because that's kind of my reaction to everything is the positive thing. So that was great. That was a great thing that came out of that. Like I realized my strength, which is something that I've struggled to find, and it's a pretty big deal. So yeah, so you sit there, instead of sitting there and feeling sorry for yourself and stressing out and feeling overwhelmed because you're so far behind now because that didn't go as planned, you need to just sit down and just start getting to work, right? So I wish it was like that easy and that picture perfect, but I did that. So for 2 hours or whatever, then I went to get Serena from school and came back home, and then I had like the extra struggle in of like, okay, now Serena's here, and so like, I want to spend time with her, but I am kind of overwhelmed and frustrated because I am behind on my work today as well. So then I did have like moment tonight where I was just like, oh, this is awful, blah, blah, blah. I spent my time with her and whatever. And then I was like, okay, I need to get my workout in. So I was like, okay, I'm going to do my workout. And then I sat on the bed and I was like, pretty much just feeling sorry for myself. That lasted for about 5-10 minutes. And then I was like, you know what, screw it. I'm not going to do my workout. Like, I have a great reason today for not doing my workout, like, because I wasn't home at my scheduled workout time anyways. And then today's been hectic since then. So I had a shower instead. This went kind of backwards. So I had a shower, and then in the shower, I like pumped myself up to do my workout. So I got out of the shower and then worked out. I don't know. And then it was great because Serena worked out with me, and so it was fun. But the thing is that this is what I realized, is that you either sit there and you think to yourself, okay, I'm not going to do my workout, or I'm not going to do whatever that'll make me feel better and get me out of this, because I would rather just sit here and feel sorry for myself. So you really have to decide that you want to make yourself feel better, that you want to get yourself out of that funk that you're currently in, or whatever the situation may be. That's a decision that you make. It's a mindset, and it's a decision that you make in your mind. It has to be a conscious decision, because that's what you're doing. You're either sitting there feeling sorry about that your day has not gone as planned, that whatever crappy thing is going on, or you're like doing things to make yourself feel better and get yourself up out of it. So I did my workout just before this call. I ended up totally rushing then, tonight to get onto this call on time. But guess what? I feel better. I feel happier. I have the endorphins running through me now. And even with like this call, this morning when that happened with the car and everything, I did have, Jackie step up and say, hey, if you want me to do the call tonight, let me know, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, I got to do this because once again, this is something that will lift me up. This is something I really enjoy doing, and it picks me up, right? Like sitting here and sharing with you guys and stuff like that. It picks me up, makes me feel good. And I knew that I would need it, especially tonight. So yeah, so it would have been easy to, like I say, pass this off or even just cancel it or whatever. I had great reasons for doing it, but really that wouldn't have really helped me mentally get out of the potential funk that my morning would have put me in. So I hope that kind of makes sense. Basically, and literally, that's literally how I pretty much handle like everything that happens that kind of throws me totally for a loop. The other thing that I ask myself is this something I can turn around to help motivate or inspire somebody else, right? So there is this one thing that I always say, and I swear by it. And I'm glad that I know because Jackie messaged me last week. She had a head cold last week and she did not miss a workout. She said that it's because my words were haunting her. And that is that if you are sick or you're experiencing some sort of ailment or whatever, shoulders and above, you can still work out. Shoulders and below, probably a no-go. And so she's like, well, I have this head cold and I feel like crap, but it's all up here. So Lara said that I should work out anyways. So she did her workouts last week. And it's like, were they perfect? No. Did she push as hard as she normally does? No, but she did it, right? And then the thing is about when you're posting about that, you're motivating and inspiring people because there's somebody else that's going through that. And let's face it, especially with colds, they just drag on for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks. So you could end up going weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks without working out because you're still a little sniffly and your nose runs too much when you're working out or whatever the issue may be. The other thing with colds in particular is that I do notice that personally, they pass quicker when I work out, when I have them. So that's just a side note. But yeah, so when life hands you lemons, make lemonade. That's what I'm saying. Ask yourself, is this something that I can push through, that I can then share about, and then that may be able to motivate or inspire somebody else? Honestly, guys, that is the biggest thing that pushes me through, because I did used to be that person that would use any excuse in the world to be able to just do nothing for the rest of the day. I would take any excuse in the world to, like, for sure miss a workout because I didn't ever work out, but to just do nothing for the rest of the day. And this is something with coaching that has changed me, because now it's like, okay, this is a crappy situation, whatever it may be. Maybe I'm sick, maybe I'm not feeling good, maybe whatever, the car breaks down and I'm like not home all morning like I planned on being, whatever the situation may be. It's like, okay, I got this crappy situation, so how can I turn this around, share it with people, and maybe motivate and inspire somebody who might be going through the same thing, or maybe they'll go through the same thing in the future, and how can I help them, you know? So that's the big thing that is, it really helps. It almost seems selfish, because it almost seems like you're doing it for some sort of recognition or something, like, oh, wow, I can't believe Lara has a cold and she's still working out. It's so inspirational. But if that's what drives you to get up and do that thing and get yourself out of that funk of feeling sorry for yourself or whatever it may be, then do it. Who cares? Who cares if you like that, you know, the accolade of being like, yay, she did it, even though whatever, you know, whatever drives you, right? So that's first thing. And like I say, it really comes down to mindset. You just basically decide that this is the other thing with nutrition and workouts. When things go crappy, it can either be a really easy reason or excuse to eat bad, miss your workout, do whatever those sorts of things are. But you have to like turn it around and just, you change your mindset. And this, I'm going to kind of go into the badass webinar now, because I realize that this is exactly what I do and what I've done. And it's what I did today. But yeah, so on the badass webinar, she was talking about, she talked about a lot, but she was talking about like negative, like when you're talking negatively to yourself and stuff like that. So, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. So yeah, so my example was in my mind. This is the other thing that I struggle with. I struggle with when you always hear this in personal development too. Like people are like, oh, the big snooze exercise. That's what I was going to talk to you guys about. So, so people are, they're like, you know, well, what negative things are you telling yourself in your head? And I'm always like, I don't tell myself anything negative. I think that I'm perfectly awesome. And it's not true, because if I really did think that I was perfectly awesome, then I would be a heck of a lot further ahead than I am right now. So obviously there is something in there that there is some sort of limiting self-belief in there. And, you know, so I have trouble like with these exercises and stuff, like noticing what negative limiting self-belief am I telling myself all the time? What is my strength? What is my weakness? I don't really know. This year I have learned a lot about myself. This 2015 has been such a learning year for me and a growing year for me. It's been amazing. So I know I'm just setting myself up for a really awesome 2016. But anyway, so with this big snooze exercise that she talked about, if you guys didn't get a chance to listen to the webinar, I still really recommend listening to it. But basically, it's like a 5-step. The big snooze, if you're not familiar, first of all, is that limiting self-belief that you constantly tell yourself that holds you back from being a badass or being totally awesome or whatever. And it's basically a 5-step thing. And I realized there was one big limiting self-belief that I had that I still kind of struggle with, but I really have gotten through it a lot in this last year. And I was looking at this exercise that she charted out on here, and I was like, that is basically what I did. But now that it's written out and I'm like, no, like the step-by-step, I can do it with all my other limiting self-beliefs, and I can even get better at this one. So the one example I wanted to share with you guys, I'm going to tell you guys another story because stories are awesome. So as most of you guys know, I am a part of the Calgary Market Council, which means that we help, we arrange and put on the Beachbody events here in Calgary. And it's such an honor and so awesome, and I'm so excited. I was so excited when they called and asked me to be a part of the Market Council because it was right before the big Autumn Calabrese event that we had here in February. And it's awesome. I love being a part of something like that. However, I realized that I have this limiting self-belief of like feeling like I don't have any value to contribute to things. Like I realized that I spent most of my life surrounding myself with people who were either right where I was at or behind me. And you know, they say you should be surrounding yourself with people who are ahead of you, people who are where you want to be one day. If you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. You've heard all those things, right? But that's how my whole life, I've always kind of surrounded myself. That's where I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable being the one in the room that knows the most. I'm comfortable being further ahead of those that I'm around. And so this whole Beachbody thing has been really, out of my comfort zone. But the Market Council just kind of put it much smaller because it like put me with like 4 other like top leaders in this in Calgary. And I felt like I had nothing to contribute. I felt like I was totally replaceable on the Market Council. And these were just little things I was telling myself in my head that I didn't even realize I was telling myself these things. But what you tell yourself in your head, it will create a reality, right? So for me, I had this like worry in my head always, like I'll be the forgotten member of the Market Council. I don't have anything to really contribute to them. Like we have the guy who's like a professional actor, and so he's an amazing MC. He will always be the MC because nobody can be an MC like good like him because he's an actor and that's his strength. And then we have the other girl who like just talks to everybody and is like a fitness professional, and so she's amazing, and so nobody will ever be able to replace her. And then we have the other girl who has like an event planning history behind her, so she's able to get us all the best venues and she can never be replaced. But I have nothing to give to the Market Council. I am the forgotten member of the Market Council, and that's what I told myself. At the Autumn Calabrese event in February, the end of February, I swear to God, I made that like that real because they got a picture of the Market Council with Autumn minus me. It was all the Market Council except for me. And so that really, I was like, I'm right. They forgot about me. But what really happened was because I kept feeling like they don't really need me. I don't have anything to contribute. I didn't stick around to help with cleanup. I took off. We took off and had lunch. And so I missed the picture with Autumn because I didn't stick around to help them with cleanup. So I created that myself. And so anyway, so that all kind of came crashing down. And then it was like to the point where like I was like, I didn't want to share any ideas. This all kind of feeds in with like all these limiting self-beliefs where like I don't like sharing ideas with people because it's like I worry that they're just going to be a stupid idea and they're going to get overlooked and nobody's going to really notice them or whatever, like think that they're good. And then, so I can't even tell you how many times in my life I've held back on sharing an idea with someone or a group or whatever. And then somebody else comes up with the idea and I'm like, and everybody's like, that's a great idea. And I'm like, oh, I thought of that. Like, why didn't I say something? Because that would have felt awesome to have the credit for that. And so I stepped back, and I wasn't sharing ideas with the market council or anything like that. And then basically I kind of had like a breakdown moment with that. And I basically finally realized it. I realized that that's what I was telling myself. And I realized that it was creating this reality of where, sure, I wasn't contributing anything because I was holding back, because I wasn't sharing my ideas, because I believed that I had nothing to contribute. And so this is like the big snooze exercise. She says, write down any of your thoughts, beliefs, and words that don't support you. I didn't actually write those things down, I don't think. But then step 2 is feel through them and let them through you. And I definitely did that. Like, I remember so clearly, I sat there one night and I was so upset because I was just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe I've done this to myself. I've created this for myself. And then step 3 is question your limiting thoughts, beliefs, and words. And that's what I did. And I was like, is it true that I don't have anything to contribute? And I was like, no, it's not true, because I have had good ideas. I just haven't stepped up and said them. And then somebody else says them. And basically I just went through and I questioned everything. Like, I was like, really, do I have nothing to contribute? Yes, I do have stuff to contribute. Step 4 was replace your negative thoughts with new awesome ones. And so I basically just started doing affirmations. I just started telling myself that I am a valuable asset to every team that I'm a part of, that I have amazing ideas to contribute to whatever the group, the team, the situation. And I just kept telling myself that in my head. And then step 5 is feel how awesome your new written beliefs feel. And I really went through this shift. And it took like a few months, but I went through this shift. And now, now I get on market council Zoom calls and they can't shut me up. And I have like all these ideas, and it's like, some of them of course get written off. Some of them aren't great ideas, but then some of them are great ideas and everybody loves them. And it changes like totally changes the way that we even are doing events here in Calgary. And that feels awesome. And now I do realize and feel like I am a valuable member of the market council. And yeah, so that's just an example of, I don't know, I use it. I like hearing people's personal examples of getting through these things that you hear on webinars or on audiobooks or in books. So this big snooze exercise, I think, is so vital because like it's huge. So how you guys can find and discover your limiting self-beliefs is literally to just like, it might not be something that's super obvious to you, because it's just kind of like a quiet voice that's like in the back of your mind and you don't even really realize it, but it's there, and you don't even realize, but you believe it. So I guess ask yourself, like for me, this is how I kind of found this limiting self-belief, and like the other ones as well that I have. So just like ask yourself, like, where are situations, I guess, that you haven't fulfilled like to the point that you want to. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know. Like maybe it's like for my market council example was basically like, I just realized that I kept like, it just came crashing down one day, basically after that autumn event, where I was just like, I feel like an infant, like I feel like I have nothing to contribute, and I feel like I'm not valuable to them. And then I realized that is what I had been telling myself. So if you have some sort of negative feelings about whatever, like maybe that's the situation, or maybe, it has to do with your own fitness and your health. And maybe you're getting frustrated because you're like, no matter what I try, I can't complete a program. No matter what I try, I can't stick to an eating plan. So then just stop for a minute and ask yourself why. Because you're probably well, you obviously are, because you're saying that. You're telling yourself that you can't stick with it. So of course you're not going to stick with it because you're telling yourself that you can't stick with it. So then go back and go through the big snooze exercise and write down the limiting belief and feel through it. So like feel how crappy that makes you feel. Like, you have to feel it, and you'll probably cry and you'll feel awful, but you have to go through that and then question it. Like, why can't I? I don't know. Like, can I really not complete a program? Well, yeah, I could probably if I tried. Like, just basically question it and realize that it's not real. It's not a real thing. And then replace it with a new one and write the new ones down and constantly make an effort every single day, multiple times a day, to tell yourself, I can complete this program and I can stick to this nutrition plan. That's the big thing, that it's that consistent. You need to retrain your brain. The next little thing that she talked about was, she did say this, I wrote it in capital letters, your brain is your bitch. It's true. You can retrain your brain to think how you want it to think. The other neat thing that she shared really quick, because I am going to run out of time, is there's basically just no negotiating. So you just have to kind of figure out, like, okay, so say you want to be super fit, right? So basically you need to change who you're being in order to start doing it. So if you want to be super fit, like, what would a super fit person do, right? So if you're like, okay, I need to get up and work out in the morning if I'm going to work out in the morning. Well, a super fit person, you bet they're going to get up and work out in the morning. Do you think they're going to question that, like, when the alarm goes off in the morning? No, they're not going to question it. They're going to turn the alarm off. They're going to get up and they're going to work out, right? There's non-negotiating. So she said basically, no negotiating. Like, you want to sit down and say it's time to, like, sit down and do your power of 3, right? And you're kind of like, I really want to be a successful Beachbody coach. But what happens is that when it's time to sit down and do the work, you start negotiating with yourself. That's exactly what it is. In your mind, then you're suddenly like, well, maybe I don't have to do it right now. Maybe I can do it later. Maybe I can just skip today. Maybe I'll just do it tomorrow. That's negotiating, and that's not what successful coaches do. They sit down and do the work when they're going to do the work. So you basically just have to notice that you're negotiating, turn it off, and be like, nope, no negotiating. I'm just going to do it. So become aware of your negotiations, assign a positive thought or task to it, and use the negotiation as a trigger to activate the positive thought or task. So for an example, and I've actually done this with doing like Power 3, adding new contacts, sending messages, sending invites, whatever, I will negotiate. I'll negotiate to do it later, or I did enough today, that sort of stuff. So basically, like, positive thought that I will assign to that is the fact that there is somebody out there that needs my help. And so here's a really neat thing. This morning was super crappy. And like I say, it could have been easy for me to just kind of, whatever, I'll do it tomorrow. Like, I have good reason to skip a bit today. I had this girl message me, and she was like, I invited her to my free 10-day Beachbody On Demand challenge, and she messaged me back, and she was like, I can't do anything I've tried, I can't stick to it. I don't know, I'm just ready to give up on myself. I don't even want to give this a try because I'm just going to fail, and I'm just ready to give up on myself. And I was like that hurt reading that. I was just like, no, like, you can't give up on yourself. So I sent her this message back, and I said, like, that makes me so sad that you're considering giving up on yourself. And I said, you can't give up on yourself. And I just sent her like this really positive push message. And I said, just give this a try, and I will be here with you every step of the way. And then she messaged me back. She's like, okay, I'm in. I'm going to give it a go. She signed up for Beachbody On Demand, which, as Lana knows, is not easy getting people to sign up for Beachbody On Demand. She signed up for it, and she's like, I'm in. And and she went and introduced herself to the group and whatever. And that's the positive. So I'm going to instill that into my subconscious mind. And next time I'm thinking about putting off doing invites or whatever, I'm going to remember that there are people out there like that need that push, that are ready to give up on themselves. And that's why we're doing this. And that's really what it all comes down to, is you always have to ask yourself, like, why are you doing this? Like, why are you here? Why did you sign up for coaching? Why are you doing this? Because that why should drive you stronger than the frustrating thing that happened, or than the limiting self-belief that you have, that you keep telling yourself. or whatever, those sorts of things. So I'm going to just really quick, because Lana was wondering, I'm going to really quick show you guys my bullet journal. Are you okay, Lana? You good? What? You're good? You're good? Okay. So, yeah, she was asking me about how I bullet journal. This is the new thing that Anna was sharing about. I didn't think I would actually have time to actually even show you guys. But basically what I did was I looked up bullet journaling and I was like totally confused because everybody seems to just take it and do their own thing with it. And so there's not one bullet journal that's the same. But they are basically all the same in the sense that they all have, I'll show you guys. So my very first page, this is just a regular journal. It has like a motivating thing on the front. Ooh, it's like an 8x10 or whatever size. And it's just a regular like ruled page journal. So my first page, this has been awesome, by the way, like amazing, game changer. I just started like less than a week ago. So the first page is like your legend. So basically I use like different icons and different colors. So you probably can't read that. So basically like I use a little bullet for any tasks. I use arrow one way saying that I moved the task the next day. I have ideas, I have something important, and then I have different things different colors for personal, business, family, whatever. And then there's an index. Basically, you just end up numbering all the pages. And this is just what my days look like. So I make it all pretty and colorful, and I write my goals weekly, and I write a motivational quote and a focus for the week, which is just another motivational thing. And just, it's really a to-do list. It's a fancy to-do list. And I love it because nothing gets scratched off until it's done. It gets moved to the next day. And then basically if it keeps getting moved along, I'm able to kind of look at it and be like, do I really need to do this? When do I need to do this? And that sort of stuff. So sorry, it was a really quick rundown. If you wanted anything more specific, I have less than a minute left, so it's going to cut me off. I do have that page. I do have the month. I'll show you. I have a future log that shows these are the months. Like there's 6, like, so for each month and for the year in advance, if I have something, and then here's my month. It's just the days down the side, and then just if there's something for each day. So anyways, I have to take a picture really quick. This is gonna really like just cut me off. So you guys ready for your picture?